we have entered the second week of a partial government shutdown, and things are really starting to fall apart. Various stories are coming out regarding the IRS and how it is severely understaffed at this point because of the number of employees who had to be furloughed. And so if you're looking forward to getting a tax refund this year, it's probably going to come in much later than expected. But with all of this going on, House Democrats are trying to do what they can to make sure that the government opens back up without giving Trump the ridiculous amount of money that he wants for a border wall or border fence or the steel slats. I mean, he's called it a million different things at this point. Now, they have introduced 2 bills, and Mitch McConnell in the Senate, of course, says, no, we know that Trump is gonna veto both bills, so we're not even gonna bring this up. But here's what House Democrats have proposed. The first bill passed in the House by a 239 to 192 vote was a continuing resolution funding the Department of Homeland Security through February 8th. The House also voted 241 to 190 to approve funds for 6 agencies through the end of this fiscal year. Now, the shorter funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security is intended to provide time for more talks on the wall since border security is overseen by that agency. So let's stop for a second. If you're the president and you believe that border security is of the utmost importance, right? Wouldn't you want to ensure that the Department of Homeland Security has the funding necessary to continue operating? Does that matter at all? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he keeps talking about criminals and rapists coming in. He keeps talking about, there's another, now he's saying that there's another caravan coming in. We should all be very afraid. But seems like he's not really scared because he doesn't want to fund the government. The House Homeland Security stopgap would also keep border security funding at 1.3 billion, providing no new funding for the barrier along the southern border.
And can I just back up what you're saying? I saw a report today that some government officials, including TSA people, have stopped showing up to work because they're not getting paid. And Trump keeps saying, this will last months. They're like, hey, look, it's one thing if it lasts 4 days and I still get my paycheck. And maybe it's another thing if it lasts like 2.5 weeks and that is brutal for me. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my mortgage, but I guess you'll make it up, et cetera, and I can go to work. But if you're telling me this is gonna last months, and now some Republicans are saying years.
What?
So I'm supposed to show up to work for years and not get paid? Yeah, no, sorry, turns out I'm sick. So if Department of Homeland Security starts doing that, well then we're in a lot of trouble because we're asking them to work for free.
That's exactly right. So there are right-wing politicians who are egging Trump on, and then there are also some Republicans from states that Hillary Clinton won in the general election who are very much concerned about their chances at getting reelected. And I'll get to them in a minute. But before I do so, Trump was asked about all of this during a press conference he had at the Rose Garden today. And he sparred with reporters as always. In fact, let's take a quick look at the first video where a CNN reporter asked him to stop lying so much to the American people.
You ran your campaign promising supporters that Mexico is going to pay for the wall, and that the wall was going to be made of concrete. You just said earlier that the wall could be made of steel, and right now our government is shut down over a demand from your administration that the American taxpayer pay for the wall. So how can you say you're not failing on that promise to your supporters?
Very nice question, so beautifully asked, even though I just answered it.
You didn't answer.
Look, let me just tell you, excuse me, you ready? Are you ready? I just told you that we just made a trade deal and we will take in billions and billions of dollars, far more than the cost of the wall. The wall is peanuts compared to what the value of this trade deal is to the United States. As far as concrete, I said I was going to build a wall. I never said I'm going to build a concrete. I said I'm going to build a wall.
You said concrete.
Just so you don't, because I know you're not into the construction business. You don't understand something. We now have a great steel business that's rebuilt in the United States. Steel is stronger than concrete.
So steel is actually performing poorly in the stock market right now. So Trump is wrong about steel. Even with the tariffs on steel coming into the United States, it actually hasn't helped steel companies in the US as he expected. But more importantly, I love how he starts by answering her question about Mexico, how Mexico was supposedly gonna pay for the wall with, here we go again. Yeah, here we go again. That was your talking point. People are gonna ask you about it. You're the president of the United States. You ran a campaign arguing that Mexico would pay for it. So what happened?
You said you drained the swamp and you hired a bunch of corrupt cronies from Goldman Sachs. Here we go again. Yeah, that was your campaign promise. But to me, I feel like we're done with this. We solved it because he said he wanted money for the wall, and he just told us that Mexico did pay for it through the trade deal. Then what do you need our $5 billion for? We're done with it. You said you got it from Mexico. All right, let's move on. Let's reopen the government.
It's so pathetic. And now, of course, Mexico hasn't paid for it. Trump's so-called negotiations regarding NAFTA have to be approved by Congress, and that hasn't happened. So right now, the American people would spend $5 billion on this nonsense border fence, the steel slats, whatever he wants to call it, and it doesn't really solve anything. And if you ask the majority of Americans right now, hey, what do you think about what's going on with this government shutdown? Should Trump hold federal workers hostage over this issue? The vast majority say no, he should not. We should open the government back up and pass a spending bill that makes sense. Now, unfortunately, Mick Mulvaney, who's now Trump's acting chief of staff, is egging him on, saying that he should continue demanding the funding. He shouldn't sign on to anything unless he gets exactly what he wants. And here's Trump talking about federal workers and how they love everything that's going on right now.
This really does have a higher purpose than next week's pay. And the people that won't get next week's pay or the following week's pay, I think if you ever really looked at those people, I think they'd say, Mr. President, keep going. This is far more important.
We continue to go with speaking on people without asking them anything. Again, I was talking earlier about how it's so easy to ask the simplest follow-up questions to these types of press conferences. He said this before. I think the federal workers, he didn't say I think this time, he said I think. Before he said, I've been speaking to federal workers and they told me keep going, Mr. President. Destroy our lives, keep eating up our paychecks for something that we have nothing to do with, except for your pride and your trying to keep your promises made, promises kept slogan. So, and it's only with this border wall, everything else, who cares about those promises made and kept? So now this time he said, I think it's a higher power. Just because you can go on and continue to live like this doesn't mean other folks can't. So you're characterizing them as backing you up. The next question, again, like I was saying, is obvious. So who said this to you? Can you bring them forward? Can you get them to say, hey, I'm okay with you continuing to shut down the government and eliminating my source of income for your wall?
Yeah, and by the way,
that's all.
Yeah, and so he talked about the federal workers there, but overall, we did ask people. That's what a poll is. Yeah. And the poll said 25% of Americans agree with him on shutting down the government for funding the wall. That means 3/4 of the country do not agree with him. And by the way, his thesis is, well, 3/4 of the country might disagree with me. Of course, he never acknowledges that. But I think that the people who are hurt most by this somehow magically do agree. That makes no sense at all. Of course, they're in the 3/4 who don't agree. It costs them their paycheck.
Yeah. And so while Mick Mulvaney and Mike Pence keep egging Trump on, which is such a bad idea, you do have some Republicans in the Senate who are no longer willing to stand in solidarity with their fellow Republicans in the Senate. And these are Republicans who are looking to the future and their re-election campaigns. And they're very much concerned that they won't get reelected if this nonsense continues. So Senator Cory Gardner from Colorado is one of those Republicans. He says, quote, we can pass legislation that has the appropriations number in it while we continue to get more, but we should continue to do our jobs and get the government open and let Democrats explain why they no longer support border security. You know what, fine, I'm in favor of that tactic, let's do it. So he's essentially saying, let's pass a spending bill now, we can ask for more later. I mean, he knows that the House is not going to pass.
Working out.
Right.
And with all these guys that are in the perceived purple states that are worried about their future in their upcoming elections, again, they're gonna get some level of credit for saying something that's normal, like, hey, we need to go ahead and open up the government and disagree with the president. But in reality, they're still only caring about their own election process. And we gotta look forward because we might be in trouble. Not anything to do with who you represent.
Right.
What you were elected to do and how you just carry on the normal business of the government. It's again about themselves. Again, this Republican Party is just like the leader of it. What have you done for me? How can I continue to work and continue to get bribes by other interests to stay in office? Nothing about constituents.
I just wanted to add that, all our presidents in the past have had like that one center thing that they based their presidency around, right? For Obama, when his presidential campaign was about hope, right? And every presidency has this one thing. Trump's presidential campaign was nope. That's what it was, like hope and nope. That's what we got. Like no, you're not allowed to come to this country, and it's like this entire country is based on immigrants. Just look at this panel alone, right? We're either immigrants or children of immigrants.
Right. Yeah, Muslims nope, Latinos nope, right? Government nope. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And so, by the way, so in an earlier story today, I said there's 25 Republicans that are up for re-election in the Senate. My bad, it is 22. It's still a big number. Only 12 Democrats up. Because of the vagaries of the Senate, there's 22 Republicans. So they're in a world of trouble in a lot of purple districts, including Cory Gardner. That's why they say 3, but there's at least 5 Republican senators, I counted, that are saying, no, let's go, end the government shutdown. They're in a panic, including Capito from West Virginia. She's worried about her seat.
My favorite quote from Senator Capito is this. She says, quote, "I'd like to see it stop." Simple statement, but it speaks volumes.
Well, so why isn't it? So this is another amazing fact if you don't know. The version that the House just passed that Ana told you about, the Senate already passed it. Wait, now normally the way that it works is if Senate passes and the House passes it, well then it goes to, then we got a bill and then it's gonna go to the president. I saw it on Saturday mornings in the cartoons. I know how bills are made. But in this case, it's a new Congress. And so the House passes it, the new House passes it, they bring it back to the Senate, and all the Senate has to do is repass the same exact thing they already agreed to. And Mitch McConnell is saying, no, I will not bring it up for a vote. Because he knows that if he brings it up for a vote, those Republicans are gonna flip and they're gonna agree with the Democrats. So he's like, I won't even allow a vote. You know what that's called? That's the Trump Protection Act, okay? Because he's trying to protect Trump's ass. So he knows that he's wrong. He knows Trump is wrong. He knows they don't have enough votes and that enough Republicans would vote for the Democrats and we would solve this and it would be done. So it's not just Donald Trump. Mitch McConnell should also get tremendous blame, almost equal blame for not ending this government shutdown because he could end it tomorrow if he just allowed them to vote on it. We're not even saying you have to vote yes. All you have to do is allow a vote. It's called democracy, Mitch. You should look into it. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.